What's up, guys? Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome to the Stramboli. Welcome back. Back on the grind, dude. This is a long ass grind. Let's see what I got going on here. Let's see. We have 27 Eyes of Death, 15 Humanity. All right. So about 6 more Humanity. I probably should buy some arrows. If you guys are just tuning in, this is 100% achievements Dark Souls 1, no death. After this, I'll probably be running Dark Souls 3. So I just got it again, so. What's up, Dave? Welcome. How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. What's up, Don? What's up, Otto? Finally starting to get better after so much time. Feeling a little better. So that's always good, right? Feeling better. Oh shit, dude, I didn't mean to do that. Oh yeah, I should be fine. Finally feeling better somewhat. Can you guys hear me okay? Halloween's coming, guys. Autumn's coming. It's pretty close. The next holidays are coming around. It's almost the end of the year already, man. You believe that? You're just fine. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Finally. It took a while, dude. I was sick for a long time, dude. Thank God it's almost over. Being sick is not a fun experience, that's for sure. So I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not I should use the dupe glitch just to buy the spells, or I should just farm until I get enough. Basically, I'm not sure which one I'm gonna do. Who's opposed to the dupe glitch just for the spells? Where's the Jane, too? That's what I wonder. Where's Mama Jane? Ba-da-be-doo-be-doo-be-da, doo-be-doo-be-da, doo-be-doo-be-da. I'm gonna share my own stream right now because I know how this works here on Facebookie. It's a little crooked nowadays, so ain't nobody gonna talk to me. So I'm gonna talk to myself, baby. I'm a psycho. I'm good at talking to myself, baby. Been doing it for years. The voices in my head don't stop. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Non-stop voices in my head. And I'm good at it. Very, very good at it. Let's see. What do we got going on here? Yeah, I'm going to share it to a group I'll probably get kicked out if that works. That's funny. Oh, Facebook. I think we only need like 2 more Eyes of Death. Something like that. Something to that matter of fact. Dude, I sold like all of my Stephen King books yesterday, by the way. I have all these hardcover, what do you call it? Hardcover first editions of Stephen King novels. And I sold literally like all of them yesterday. It's crazy. I was like, I'll never sell these. I was like, you know what? They're just taking up space, man. I might as well fucking sell them. And I did. I sold all of them yesterday. Made a pretty penny on them too because they were worth some cash. It was kind of nice. Got rid of a lot of things in my house. A lot of room, a lot of space now, you know? So it was kind of nice. Wow, that puts me all the way back over here. Weird. Very weird. Get this one up too right here while we're at it. Three people watching on Facebook, bro. 3 people. You remember when it was like 70 people, 80 people, 3 people on Facebook. Freaking ridiculous. Freaking ridiculous, man. Crazy. So I stopped vaping. What else? I stopped drinking energy drinks. I'm having a harder time, I think, with the caffeine than the nicotine, which is weird because I figured it'd be the other way around. Not having nicotine is far easier than not having caffeine, man. I don't know, something about caffeine is just like functionality. Also, maybe I've had caffeine longer than I've been having nicotine. Possibly, even though I've been smoking since I was like 12 years old. So it's a possibility, but still. The withdrawals from the caffeine are worse. I don't know why that is. It's really weird, right? It doesn't make any sense. At least to me, it doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. Butter, butter, butter. Butter, butter, butter. Butter, butter, butter. I'm not sure I could do it without my morning coffee. That's what I mean, man. Like, because I hadn't had like caffeine, right? And I get exactly what you're saying. Because it's like, I don't usually drink coffee. I usually have energy drinks, which are far worse for you, right? But then I toned it down because I stopped drinking caffeine altogether, you know? And even after 2 weeks of not having caffeine, dude, I still crave caffeine. After 2 weeks of no smoking, what's up, David? Welcome. How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. If you could share the stream, I'd really appreciate it, by the way, guys. 2 weeks of not smoking, I have no problem not smoking. But the caffeine, man, the caffeine is like worse. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. It's worse. Living without caffeine is hard, bro. It's real hard. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. It's just one of the hardest things to quit. You know what I mean? It's strange. So you figure nicotine's got to be more addictive, right? It has to be. Has to be. Share, like, and comment on the stream, my friends, please, if you can. I would really appreciate it. It would help the algorithm quite a bit. If you haven't followed me on YouTube, follow me on YouTube. If you haven't followed me on TikTok, follow me on TikTok. Search for Immortal Tomato, my friends. You'll find me everywhere. Hope you guys are having a blessed day. I don't know what's going on. It's a Monday, so it's kind of slow. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a slow day. This run is kind of a slow run. We're gonna be running a lot of slow runs because we're pretty close to 500 no death runs. So the next run I'm running is Dark Souls 3 all 100% achievements, which is another really slow run, but what's up, Willis? How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream, buddy. How you doing, my friend? It's really trying to make me work for those last eyeballs, man, because we literally only need 2 left. So I will be playing Ghost of Yotai. That comes out on the 2nd, I believe. Be taking a long break probably from Soulsborne for a bit. And then dipping back in. I was going to do all these hitless runs and stuff. I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. We're going to keep it simple. Get 500 no death runs. Get it over with. You know what I mean? Keep it simple, baby. So what's on the docket today, guys? What are you guys up to? What's going on this week? Anything interesting happening this week? I have to pay my internet bill. I forgot about it till right now, actually. Which I'll probably pay that afterwards. It's only $40 a month for like 150 gigs upload, which ain't too bad. I just forget because it's not like a standard type service. It's like a subscription. It's really weird. Got a little cough. How you holding up? I'm gonna put you on my TV. Yeah, man, that's cool. Yeah, hopefully you don't get the fucking pneumonia, man. That pneumonia is shitty, bro. There's a lot of respiratory crap going around though, so be careful. Take care of yourself. Take some vitamin C. Take some vitamin B12 too. That helps a lot. You definitely don't want to end up on the other side of that. You know what I mean? Because I was there in the hospital for 4 days. It's fucking not worth it. And I'm in the mood for pasta, which is weird. I don't know why I'm in the mood for pasta, but I am. Sounds delicioso. The javelinas returned too. I guess it cooled down long enough for them to come back. It went through my trash and everything. I caught them just in time though. Kicked them out of my front yard. The javelinas are a constant problem here in Tucson. I'm getting tired of them javelinas, homie. I'm getting tired of them. My daughter thinks it's funny as shit though. How mad I get at the javelina. She thinks it's funny. Have COVID here in my household. Damn, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, prayers to you and your family, man, because COVID sucks, dude. That's the last one I need. Yep, that's it right there. We just need the humanity and we can get out of here. We need all the souls too for the upgrades for plus 10 pyromancy, so I can get the extra stuff for pyromancy achievement. $18, getting there. 18 plus 9, yeah, we're pretty close. Pretty close to 30. Nah, almost there. Does Taco Bell have B vitamins? I don't know, man. Maybe. That was kind of the biggest thing too when I went vegan the first time. They're always like, "Where are you gonna get your B vitamins? Where are you gonna get your B vitamins?" You know where B vitamins are? I know this sounds weird, but it's true. B vitamins are in dirt, bro. It's weird. Contamination gives B vitamins. So in other words, like meat and stuff, they have B vitamins in there because of the I don't know, just the gravel and the dirt and stuff that animals are raised around, which is weird, right? They have something called nutritional yeast, which gives you B vitamins. It's basically just yeast. Weird as fuck. That most of it's just reoccurring natural minerals within the soil, the topsoil of the ground, basically. And it's crazy too. In the South, they actually do eat dirt in mud pies and shit like that. They bake with dirt. Some people. It's an old fashioned thing, and it stems from like the depression and all that. I get that, but It's pretty crazy to think about eating dirt. You know what I mean? It's kind of an interesting concept. I personally don't want to eat no mud. You know, this is my opinion. Nothing against people that do that, but I'm not interested in it. Try it for science. But I don't even know if I try it for science, homie. Realistically, nope. 19 and 9. So we need what? Two more? Two more humanity. No, we gotta fish up another 9 after that though, because we need the metals, the sunlight metals, which sucks. People don't talk about the grind and the platinum trophy in this game, man. This is pretty crazy. The thing is that it's not as bad as Dark Souls 2, don't get me wrong, but it's still pretty bad. The grind on this is pretty nuts. And I can't wait to try Dark Souls 3 grind. That's gonna be pretty bad as well, but humanity. So we should probably try to fish out those 9 first before, just because we want to make sure we have enough for everything. So I mean, I should go for another 9 humanity. I'm gonna pop all 30 though, just so I have them there. But we still need all the souls for the spells. It's rough. This run is rough, dude. It takes forever. You know. So yeah, we need another 9. I have to go to the bathroom too. I'm kind of old in it. Mm, I guess I'll go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Be right back, my friends. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm still not 100%. Not yet. Eventually, I think maybe I will be. Hopefully, get back to 100% would be nice. I don't feel good. I'm still like out of it, man. Like this shit takes its toll. It takes forever to heal. I was looking at the actual what it says recommendations and how long it takes to heal and shit, man. It's just like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, depending on how bad it is. You know, like it's crazy how long it takes to heal from pneumonia. It takes forever, forever, dude. It takes forever. Does someone sell humanity? I think the witch does, right? The lady in the tunnel. I'm pretty sure she does sell humanity. The dude in DLC does too. I also think maybe those squid dudes will probably drop humanity faster. Butter, butter, butter. Ah. I kind of like where I am with stuff nowadays. It took a while to kind of come into appreciation of what I do. I think also like there's also this stupid bitterness that existed before the last like 3 weeks. The bitterness I think is kind of like a preemptive like I don't know like a defense mechanism. I think that's kind of something that everybody does somewhat until they cut to the heart of the situation. Which the reality is those kind of like survival mechanisms don't need to exist as much when you come out of a bad situation and find yourself in a situation that's less harmful. You know, it's like I don't know if you've ever been with a person like it's easier to relate when it's not you. That's why I'm mentioning this. It might be you, it might not be you. Okay, but it's easier to relate when when the person we're talking about isn't you. Okay. What I mean by this is like I don't know if you've ever been around a person where if you're trying to have a serious discussion with them, they back off completely and they just don't want to talk. You know what I mean? Those kind of conversations you need to have with a person just for the safety of their own personality and the safety of your own situation. You kind of have to have these conversations with some people that you deeply care about, you know? And it's weird because I would try to have those conversations with people in chat. I am okay with civil discourse. I'm okay with it. But I thought I was more okay with it than I really was for the longest time. And that's kind of the problem is that I'm kind of in an echo chamber somewhat. You know what I mean? A lot of the people that kind of came up on stream for the longest time kind of just agreed with me, you know? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can't really change your thought process if you're not being challenged somewhat. It's one of the reasons why I'm getting out of streaming because it feels like there's a lot of yes men depending on how popular or whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? I kind of want to have those civil discussions with individuals that are willing to actually talk about those things. But you know what I'm talking about. You ever have a partner, you start talking about some real stuff, and they just don't want to have the conversation, you know? Or people that have absolutely no accountability. They make a decision that they shouldn't have made, and then they just don't want to talk about it. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, they screwed up, but they refuse to like make some kind of apology for whatever they did, and just kind of you just have to accept the fact that they're not going to talk to you about it or apologize for it. It's kind of fucked up, to be honest with you. Excuse the language, but it's weird. I guess I just don't understand it. For the longest time, I thought I was being genuine, but in reality, I guess I wasn't either. That's another thing. Our brain is full of these mental traps. And then there's people that just love to like expand upon that no matter what. Like, I'm not trying to name names or anything, but there's a guy that's specifically on TikTok. You know what I mean? That's like God was created by man, you know, and he's like obsessed with atheism, and it's like, you're obsessed with atheism. Yeah, but sometimes people don't think they're trapped. Cran is what I'm saying. They think they're free. I was one of those individuals that thought I was free when in reality I wasn't for the longest time. I thought I was being civil. But until I started to address those really hardcore things that I didn't want to address, I realized I was trapped for the longest time. The only reason why I got out of it is because I have an open mind, but other than that, I was limiting my own abilities because of it. I was under the assumption that I was being, I don't know, open-minded when in reality it probably wasn't. Yeah, but sometimes that's not good to find like-minded individuals. Sometimes you need civil discourse to change your opinion of things. Sometimes you need to be challenged. Sometimes we're wrong. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying is that I was wrong, but I didn't have anybody to challenge my thought process until I really decided because I did have this experience 3 weeks ago that completely turned what I believe on its ear. I love you. Please don't be allergic to feed. It's what Miyazaki wanted. Yep. I don't know about that. What I'm saying is I kind of was in the echo chamber. How long you been on stream, Cran? Realistically. I'm talking about my stream and the community on my stream. I was kind of in an echo chamber. I wasn't in a vacuum, man. You know what I mean? I don't know if you understand what an echo chamber is. Just reverberating the same ideas I had off of other people and them agreeing with me. You know what I mean? Nobody to challenge my opinion. And that's what I'm saying is that that's part of the problem. That was part of the discourse that I needed to address. So, and I'm not specifically streaming to TikTok either, Cran. I'm streaming to like 5 different platforms, and I've been streaming for almost 10 years. So there's the difference. Let's see. Where am I going now? I got all I need there, so we could technically go to Quilax domain. You know what I mean? Technically. What art thou eating? What do you mean? I'm not eating anything. I'm just sitting here, homie. I'm not eating anything. Not eating anything at all, man. At one point, I think I was chewing gum. So, by the boss, I can't. This is 100% achievements, no death. We have to get all the achievements, most of the achievements done in NG, so that we can push through to NG Plus and finish most of the stuff in this NG. There's a whole reason why we have to do it a certain way, because if we miss out on any quest lines or any drops, we're going to have to basically do it in NG Plus, which would make it much harder. So we have to accomplish as much as we can in this NG before we fight all the bosses. So it's 100% achievements without dying, essentially, in Dark Souls 1. Don't need that. Get rid of that. It's called the Ring of Fog. It never wears off. So now we gotta come down here. Gotta farm the sunlight metals, which is gonna take a long time. We gotta get Power Within. We have to upgrade our Pyromancy Flame to +10 to get the rest of the spells. We need to make enough souls in order to buy the spells in the first place, so we can get Master of Pyromancy achievement. Butter, butter, butter. But yeah, this run is a long and tedious run. It's like a 15 to 30 hour no death run. So it takes longer than most. It's just a lot of achievements they have to go through. Knight's Honor is the worst. That's why you need to beat the game almost 3 times without dying. Because you need 3 Sif souls, basically. You need all the infusions fully upgraded. You get all miracles. You need to get all pyromancies. You need to get all sorceries. At least you don't have to get all rings and stuff like that. That's something you don't need to get in this game. But Dark Souls 3, I guess you have to. Yeah, that's perfect. Butter, 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 butter. I'm also really tired too. I don't know why I'm still tired, but it's because I haven't been able to sleep. I don't know. Since I got out of the hospital, man, I haven't been able to sleep right. Like I'll try to lay in bed and I'll get uncomfortable and then I'll get up and then I'll start walking around. I can't just sit through the night for some reason and sleep like I used to. So I have to reprogram my brain to do it. There's so many times I've had to reprogram my brain to sleep properly in this life. It's crazy, man, to think about. So many times. Come on, man, come here. I know you're coming. Take 1,000 years to come down here. There you are. What's up, Jane? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. I missed you, Mama Jane. I hope you're doing well. If you could share the stream, I'd really appreciate it, lady. You still counting down the days? You must be really excited for that. You must be so excited. I don't think I've seen you that excited for a game for a while. That's good stuff. I'm glad you're excited. Junk truck is here? Nice. Alright, I guess we're gonna start farming these shitters because it's gonna take 1,000 years to get them, but we need 30 of the sunlight metals and it's gonna take a while, but we has to do it anyways, so might as well get it over with. The only thing I'm not sure about, I don't know how badly people feel about soul dupe because of spells. Would anybody be mad if I soul duped for spells? Not for levels, but for spells specifically. John Dark Souls is at it again, pretty much. Nope. All right. Fair enough. Man, I really want to smoke a cigarette right now, really badly. Yeah, I quit vaping. I quit vaping because I got severe pneumonia, bro. Like, I'd been sick for 3 weeks. I quit vaping and I quit drinking caffeine because I was in too much pain and I couldn't leave the bed, basically. Mm-mm. This is so boring. Oh my god, bro. Dude, I know that's what I'm saying. The caffeine is like the worst, dude. Even after like not smoking for like 2 weeks, caffeine is still harder to quit. And I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm just a little irritated, man. Still with having withdrawals and stuff. I'm pretty sure. Just a little bit irritated. What's up, Kyle? Welcome. 4. We need 26 sunlight metals. Mm. At least it ain't Dark Souls 2. That's all I gotta say. Butter, butter, butter. Dude, I'm gonna fall asleep doing this. No joke. This is so boring. I'm thinking of whether or not I should get myself a drink to wake up for him because I'm freaking like I'm gonna crash. Damn, this is boring. Yeah, I literally almost dozed off right then and there. I think I need to grab something to drink. We were back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. What's up, Adelis? What's up, Jose? Welcome. Welcome to the Stramboli, baby. No, I was falling asleep, dude. This run is boring. Like this part of this run is super boring. That's why I went to go get some caffeine real quick, so I could wake the fuck up because this shit is boring as hell. Farming these little bastards takes forever, dude. Like, plus we need 30 of these little bastards. It's like, ugh, gross. You know what I mean? Takes forever. Plus, it's not like anybody's chatting in chat anymore, you know? It ain't the COVID days, man. It's not like I long for the COVID days, but most conversations are relegated to like 3 words. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. And then that's it. That's the era we live in the streaming era right now. How's it going? What are you playing? Is this your first playthrough? What have you been working on recently? Talking about Jose. GG indeed, sir. GG indeed. See how boring this is? I'm not joking. This is boring right here. Shh. Shh. Passion project. I haven't worked on anything recently because I have other goals. I have to finish this first. I start my podcast after I'm done with the stream, basically, at this point. I've been going to school. But see, the thing is going to school isn't even about me at all, you know? It's just something I'm doing to make money when I get my profession out of the way. I'm not passionate about my schooling or the profession I'm going for. Because I know I was chosen for other things. And those things won't make me a lot of money. So I have to supplement them with a decent career. It's just how it goes. I wish I would have been more tactful at a younger age, I guess. Chose my profession younger, but it is what it is. Past the point of being able to go back in time. You know what I mean? This is just a stepping stone to where I need to finish and go. Because I made the decision to run this. I have to somewhat finish it. That's just how it goes. I know we were talking about Marcus Aurelius, weren't we? A while back, Jose. You know he was related to Caesar, right? Did you know that? He was related to the Caesar bloodline. Julius Caesar and all that. Nah, you gotta understand, Odellis, I'm finishing this run so I can move on to something a little more spectacular. But I'm also not as interested in video games as I used to be. So probably not. You know what I mean? Maybe it is an offshoot run or whatever. But like level 1 stuff, I don't know. If I was going to do something fun, it'd be fun. You know what I mean? So like maybe like I don't know, just like basic runs, miracles only, shields only, shit like it. I haven't ran that in forever, dude. You know what I mean? The restrictive runs I'm not really into right now. I want something a little more chill. Just like the basic runs, man. Seemed like a fun run. But like I was saying, that's kind of weird because like Marcus Aurelius was related to the Caesar bloodline. I've talked about this before, but basically this dude was like wealthy from the time he was born, famous, could get away with anything, was beyond the law, above the law, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but you have been a goody two shoes. You wouldn't be here. Yeah, exactly what I mean. Because like I was talking about physicality. Because after I get better, I'm gonna start getting into ultra running. So I kind of want to show my presence again on stream. Since we've revamped, and I kind of want to get back into showing myself on stream. But what I want to do is I want to do some physically exerting stuff. So like I want to do like 100 mile jog on a treadmill while I beat the Soul series, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Some skydiving stuff. Because we were talking about self regulation like a while back, right? And about like I'll pull some scripture here and there. Okay, Old Testament doesn't matter, right? But like we were talking about people doing deeds. They what do they call it in Hebrew, mitzvah, right? Doing good deeds for people. And basically what makes a person, specifically a good person versus a person that's not a good person who's doing it just to be seen. What about dance? Now everybody does dance map souls, dude. No one does a 100 mile run. You got to remember, I have to make it unique. I have to make it my own. So it has to be a 100 mile straight jog on a treadmill. And I'm not talking about a little bit here and there. I mean literally 100 miles straight marathon. I'm gonna start with like a 20 mile marathon and then work my way up. You know what I mean? No, yeah, we're talking about mitzvah, right? We're talking about how, like, some people like Mr. Beast, some people don't like Mr. Beast. You know what I mean? Because they kind of feel like he's just presenting this image of like a false good person for the sake of fame and whatnot. And who's to say whether or not he's actually doing that? Because we're not that person. I can't say that he's artificial or not artificial or whatever. So that doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter in this situation. But like Marcus Aurelius, like I said, was a guy that could get away with anything. If he really wanted to, he could pull a Nero or a Caligula or whatever the hell he wanted to pull. But he even said that he stated that in his journal. So if we're talking about meditations, right? Because I know that a lot of people have read Meditations. It's one of the most famous philosophical books in history about Stoicism and all this, right? Meditations has always been this book, right? Where he outlines like the reason why he acted the way he did, the things that he did, the reason why he did the things he did, and how he kind of like became a principal. I don't know, the opposite of whatever his bloodline was supposed to be represented by those people that we're talking about, basically besmirched his bloodline, right? And like, it's crazy because when he wrote this, it was never intended to be published for the public to read. You know what I mean? It was never like he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna write all this down. Y'all are gonna read this. We'll be reading it for the next, I don't know, 1,000 years, and you're gonna live by it." He never did that. What it was is that Meditations was literally his journal to himself on how to be a better person and how many arguments he had with himself about becoming a better person because of the shit that his family put society through, essentially. He chose to do things for the, I guess, quote unquote, the greater good of humanity. Depending on who you are, you could either agree or disagree with that part of it. Okay? And that's why I say this, is because the dude had the choice to basically be untouchable. But he chose to be a better person. Whether or not he was considered a better person depends on the person who's reading his shit, knows the history of him. You know what I mean? That's really up to you. But it's just crazy having these options. Having millions of dollars, having like rubies and gold and a kingdom basically and an army. And then choosing the opposite of that. And that's why I say like people always determine whether or not a person's good based on their, their actions. But a lot of times good people don't make their actions apparent. Especially good people. And the worst part about it too is there's a lot of people that are really decent human beings that judge themselves for the smallest details. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think about because it's like these people be pulling some crazy stuff in private, helping lots of folks that you didn't even know they helped. And then at the end of it, they're still judging themselves for the smallest little detail. And it's like, Jesus, man, that's pretty insane. You know? I mean, I'm not going to say that we're all a bit too harsh on ourselves, but we kind of are sometimes. You know what I mean? People are their own worst critic, just messed up, you know? And like I said, I was talking about, people you've been in a relationship with, or you've had relationships with, whether it be friends, family, whatever. There's always that one person you meet, and it may be you, it may be someone else, but that relates the judgment that they press on themselves to other people judging them too. That's another one that's weird, extending that judgment to what other people think of them. And it's like you could be basically having a completely different conversation, but this person will basically view you as the one judging them, when in reality it's them projecting their own like insecurities onto someone else's voice. It's kind of crazy to think about how many like footholds our own like mental makeup have on us. End up causing conflict and arguments with random fucking people they don't need to cause conflicts and arguments with. It's pretty insane. The Pharisees, exactly what I'm talking about, man. I like that you drew that in there. The Pharisees, yeah. I was talking about the Pharisees. I was talking about John too. A little bit Matthew, a little bit here and there. I like you, Odellis. You're a good dude. You're a good dude. Well, it's like the Pharisees that says like, okay, well, I give half of my alms, and then he's like, and then I fast for 4 days. I'm kind of a good person, but that's the thing about it. If you think you're kind of a good person, you're probably not as good as you think you are. Usually, the people that are the harshest on themselves are usually the ones that you're like, damn, that person's a good person. You know, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Butter, butter, biscuits, butter, butter. Sounds like confession through projection. You project that hatred from others when you are confessing yourself. Exactly what I'm talking about. Yep. There's a lot of people like that. Um, I know one in particular. I'm not going to name names, but it always ends that way. Like you try to have a serious conversation with this person, and it's like a self-projected hatred, and it's just like impossible to have a conversation with this person. And it sucks because this person's a really nice person, extremely caring, sweet, does a lot of really good things for everybody, but then ultimately just obliterates themselves by looking like an idiot because they end up starting fights with people for no reason. It's like, damn, dude. Talk about hangups, you know? Crazy. Still much love. Still much understanding for this person, but it's just like, damn, you don't need to be pulling all that. So I pray this person tries to go easier on themselves because that demon is the demon that their parents gave them, and I know that for a fact because I met the parents. You know what I mean? That little perennial viper in their brain. But you didn't do this, but you didn't do that, but you didn't do this, but you didn't do that. You know? The other part of it too is like a lot of us are conditioned to like only reward ourselves once we've accomplished something. It's like you've ever been sick. I know a lot of people have been in the situation where they're physically not able to take care of the things they usually take care of, like washing the dishes or cleaning the house or cooking dinner when you're physically ill. And then you feel terrible about it that you can't do it. And it's because we're all conditioned to do all the things that we have to do before we reward ourselves. You could never actually take the time to take care of our health, someone. And I'm not saying be a lazy piece of shit, but you have to kind of designate the difference, compartmentalize them. Because you can't really do anything for anybody if you don't get better. You can't serve anybody. You can't take care of anybody unless you're at full health yourself. You got to pay yourself sometimes before you can pay others. It's kind of restrictive and it's messed up, man. We a lot of people think like I think like that. Also, a little self-destructive tendencies. They will push you away rather than to get a chance. Exactly. Yep. Oh, you can't. I don't need you in my life. I could do it without you, homie. You know. And then it's like, bro, that's not the point. It's not the point that you could. I know you could do it without me, but I would rather you lean on me when you're weak. That's kind of the point. It's not whether or not you are self-reliant, because everybody knows you're self-reliant. You've proven it. But it's like sometimes everybody needs a shoulder to hang their head on, man. There's nothing wrong with giving in once in a while. Needing to be held up once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that. But some people think that's weakness. It's like that's not weakness, man. That's strength. Accepting the love that you're offered. You know what I mean? Sometimes we all need that in order to survive in this world, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know? It's kind of crazy, man, because I've been guilty of the same shit, though, Big time. But it's like we do need to tap into those resources. There are people that care about you. Plus, sometimes it's a cultural thing, too, you know? Like, and I'm not trying to say every culture is like this, but in the Mexican culture, a lot of the women are raised to be tough and not to rely on a man. So they automatically assume that's kind of like the deal. You know what I mean? That's what that deal is. And it's like, it's not even half of the deal. It doesn't matter, how strong you are. We all get weak at some point. And it doesn't need to be a man that you can rely on. It just needs to be somebody that you can sound off of and, mirror your feelings with. There's nothing wrong with that, with being weak, having a moment of weakness. As a 46-year-old male, they're taught you don't want to ask for help. Yeah, I could see that, man. I could see that for sure. I think rule two: treat yourself like you were looking after a friend. Take better care of their pets than they do. Exactly what I mean, man. That's like my grandmother, right? The same thing. My grandmother wouldn't eat, but she'd go to the store and she'll buy like a rack of ribs, bro. She had four dogs. She cooked this rack of ribs for like 6 hours, and then she'd feed the dogs, and then she wouldn't feed herself. I was like, you need to eat something, Nana. What are you doing, man? You know, the dogs eat better than you do. I don't know, man. I think the world would feel a little better sometimes if we just accepted the love we were offered. You know, and some people think there is no love, when in reality there is always love somewhere. You know what I mean? Even if you can't tell where it is right away. I've said this before. It sounds lame. I know this sounds lame, but it's the truth. Like, it may be a job that you worked. It may be, some random stranger you met along the way. There's someone somewhere missing you. Doesn't matter how long ago they saw you or knew you, or if you were a child when you met them. There's someone somewhere missing you. And knowing that there's at least someone who cares about you somewhere is enough to understand that somebody does love you in this world. You know, and I was one of those individuals too that was like, yeah, nobody loves me. Screw this world. You know, I was that way for so long, bro. You know, and all I had to do was open my heart for the longest time, and I didn't even realize that. I was so stubborn, so blind to it. You know, as an older man, we believe the worst thing can be is Yep. Yeah. I don't want to be nobody's burden. You know. I mean, I get it. My dad pulls that shit all the time. I was like, if I start going off the reservation, just throw me in a boat. You know, it's like, no, man, that ain't gonna happen. I'll take care of you. He'll be mad at me for doing it, but I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll take care of him. He may not like it, but it is what it is. I gotta honor my father. You know, I have to, because no one's gonna honor him for me. It's me, not you. That's what. All right, man. We'll see you later, Odellis. How many do we got? 11. That ain't too bad. Yeah, but that's just kind of this is kind of how it is. Also, like fast food restaurants, man. I don't know. I'm gonna talk about fast food restaurants for a minute here. I like fast food. Is that wrong? Probably. I mean, is it wrong to like In and Out Burger? A lot of people don't like In and Out Burger, man. That's cool. I like In and Out Burger, dude. I like In and Out Burger. I like the animal fries. I like the fucking burgers. I like their singles and their doubles. I shouldn't be eating that shit. I usually don't. It's too expensive. Don't get me wrong, but man, I love me some fresh fast food, homie. Not so much McDonald's though. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of McDonald's. I do like the McDouble though, from time to time, or the excuse me, the quarter pounder with cheese is what I'm talking about. But it's definitely something you shouldn't be eating, right? And I don't know, there's like a small amount of guilt that goes along with eating that stuff. You know, and I was taking this what is it called? What is the name of it? I can't even remember. I don't know. A class about specific numbers and stuff and studies and all this stuff. And they're talking about, you know, fast food, how many people eat fast food, why people eat fast food, if fast food is tied directly to depression or whatever. But it's like availability, I think, is the main reason why people consume fast food. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I love fast food, man. The flavor, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because they, you know, throw some extra MSG or whatever. But man, sometimes that food is real good. You know, it's weird. Like I don't like Panda Express that much, but like Wendy's, I like Wendy's. You know, and then like Domino's comes up with these like freaking 100% special deals. You know, where you pay $10 for unlimited toppings and crap. And like my daughter's at dance till like 8 o'clock at night. Tastes like childhood, somewhat. Yeah, you know. And it's kind of hard to be like, hey, you know what, kid? I'm gonna, you know, I mean, think about it this way: this kid goes to school at like 7:15 in the morning. Okay, usually on my days where I'm not sick, obviously, I'll come home and I'll stream. I'll do homework. I'll do all kinds of stuff. When I was working three jobs, I was working three jobs, right? And then at the same time, then I got to take her to dance class right after school, after study hall, and that's like 4:30, 5 o'clock. We're there till like 6:30. And I'm supposed to come home and make dinner? Think about that, man. That's rough. That's hella rough, dude. Nobody wants to do that. Granted, of course, I could be better. Meal prep Sundays on the Sabbath. You know what I mean, man? Get that all done. But it's the Sabbath, bro. I want to honor the Sabbath. I don't want to rest. That's why I don't. That's why I don't stream on Sundays. You know, I don't want to go all the extra out, and maybe on a Saturday I could pull it, or a Thursday or something. But on a Sunday, I don't want to do anything. I want to relax. But it's just there for convenience, you know. You're there like a freaking spicy chicken sandwiches, like this dude's talking about over here. 6 o'clock at night. You're like, damn, bro. And then, like, of course, you got like Sell It and Go. But you know what's funny? Every time I get Sell It and Go, man, I get sick. I have to go to the bathroom nonstop, dude, after Sell It and Go. I don't know why that is. It makes me sick. There's like the alternative. Like, there's not a lot of healthy alternatives for fast food. Chipotle, are you really going to tell me Chipotle is that much more healthy? I don't believe it is. I mean, it's healthier than, McDonald's probably, but still fast food. And of course, the whole time that I'm waiting there for my daughter, I'm watching recipes. Like old world recipes and stuff. Like people making goulash from scratch, or like some kind of Persian dish or like whatever Muhammad was eating back in the day. And it all looks really good. And they got like, fricasseed lamb and you get sick. Yeah, sick from fast food salads. Yeah, me too. I don't know why that is, dude. It's weird, right? But I'd be watching these like, oh, dude, I'm going to make that. I'm going to make that. By the time I'm out of dance class, I ain't making none of that. I ain't making none of that. They're like, oh yeah, simmer for 3 hours. Add tomato paste, paprika, sauteed lamb. Like this ain't gonna happen, bro. That ain't gonna happen. I ain't gonna make all that. Make some Ezekiel bread from scratch, like fuck, it ain't gonna happen. Throw some lentils and you're like, nah, no, bro, this ain't gonna happen. I wish. I could probably be more organized, more than likely. Making Ezekiel bread from scratch. Give me a break, man. Irish soda bread, Then I follow this dude on TikTok that's pretty cool that does mobster sandwiches. Like based on certain mobsters, he'll make a sandwich that kind of represents the mobster. Like Lucky Luciano and stuff like that. That's pretty neat. Historical sandwiches. I was like, I wish I had time to play around with some shit like that. I don't have time for none of that. Maybe when I get older. Does anybody in chat eat Panda Express though? Y'all eat Panda? What do you eat? What do you eat from Panda? Is that you in the profile pic? Yeah, that's me, Jeff. Thanks, man. Do you guys get the half and half? Do you get the steamed vegetables? Do you get the Beijing beef? What do you get from Panda Express? What is it that you get from Panda if you go to Panda? Some people won't go to Panda Express. I used to the orange chicken, beef and broccoli. Yeah, a lot of people like the beef and broccoli. I got beef and broccoli out. I was with somebody for years that was like their go-to dish when they didn't have any food in the house. They'd make the beef and broccoli. That and mushrooms. I can't eat mushrooms no more. I love mushrooms. Don't get me wrong. I just can't eat them no more, man. I ate too many mushrooms. I became a mushroom. You know what I mean? That gets old. And then growing up, I had some dope ass food. Eating. When I was younger, I miss some of the recipes because a lot of them they weren't handed down. My mom passed away. My grandmother passed away. But like a lot of Mexican food is bomb as fuck, dude. If you make it right from scratch, the frijoles and everything, just tortillas también, by hand and all that. But it's like the time it takes to do all that is it's kind of rough. Making frijoles from scratch it's time intensive, man. It's time intensive. No mushrooms make me sad. Yeah, I can't do mushrooms anymore, dude. I can't. I'm sorry, man. I used to love mushrooms, dude, but it's like a lot of the nightshade vegetables, I don't do them anymore. Even like tomatoes, somewhat, I can't really get into. Tomatoes give me heartburn, dude. I'm old now. Even like pizza or like any kind of pasta that has tomato sauce, I find myself, ugh, ugh. Oh, we're farming sunlight metals, dude, because this is 100% achievements, no death. So we need a total of 30 sunlight metals. And these are the only guys in the game that drop them. And we can't play online because we can't, every time we fail, we would have to pay $15 to play online. So we can't do it that way. And I ain't doing that, man. I ain't spending $15 every time I fail a run. My first girlfriend was from Guatemala. Her mom used to make the best. Yeah, Guatemalan food I've never had. Never had it. But I guess it's similar to Mexican food somewhat from what people tell me. But I've never had Guatemalan food or El Salvadorian food. I've never had it. There's some stuff that kind of goes hand in hand though. Tamales, I think, are one of those things that it's pretty much inherently part of all South American culture. They're just very different depending on where you get them from. Like Peruvian food's interesting too. There's a lot of lentils and stuff and large beans and potatoes and stuff like that that you don't really get in Mexico. Giant lima beans and stuff like that for calditos, soups and stuff. Weapons at risk. All right, I gotta go fix this weapon real quick. Bosses aren't hard in this run. The hard part about this run is getting all the achievements. I've done over 481 Deathless runs in the Soulsborne series, including 100 in this game. So bosses aren't the problem. It's getting all the achievements without dying. Because you have to get to NG plus 2 without dying, essentially. And the hardest achievement in the game is one called the Knight's Honor, where you need to kill Sif 3 times, basically, and get all the weapons ready. It's the hardest achievement in the game. It's specifically the achievements that make this really drawn out and painful. Butter, 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 butter. Yeah, Knight's achievement. The Knight's honor is pretty rough, dude. I appreciate that, John T. Really, really do. But yeah, the Knight's honor is like a brutal one, man, because it's like you need 3 Sif souls. You need the Ornstein and Smo. You need two Quelaag. So all these you can't use for souls basically, or upgrading your character. You have to go and just kill each boss. There's a lot of tail weapons you have to get. And then, like I said, it's after the first NG that it kind of just becomes extremely painful. Like it's rough after that because it's like make or break. If one thing goes wrong, then basically you're screwed. You know, if you forget to upgrade a weapon in NG because you got all the embers you needed, then that means you have to go pick up the ember again just to upgrade a weapon so that it can become a boss. See what I'm saying? This is why it becomes a painful experience. Like you have to make sure you have all the whole entire catalog set up before you even get to NG Plus, just so that NG Plus is not a wash, basically. And that's where the pain comes in because you have to make sure you follow the itinerary properly before you even leave NG. And you got to make sure you have all the upgrade stones for each specific upgrade path. And like it's rough, dude. It's a rough run. It's really long winded. What's up, Oswald? How you doing, man? I'm always winning, sir. Always winning. Another day on this earth is a day I'm winning, my friend. $16. We need a total of 14 left. Butter, 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 butter. But you know that's what's kind of cool about it. I like Mediterranean food. I haven't had a lot of Mediterranean food. How long you been playing games? What do you mean, video games in general, or do you mean Soulsborne games? I've been playing video games since arcade cabinets, and I'm talking about Double Dragon pre NES. Dark Souls games I've been playing since Dark Souls 1. So I've got about 16 to 17,000 hours in the Soulsborne series. What's up, Caleb? How's it going, man? How you been? Come on, baby, drop them, please. I'm being generous. Please, please, please drop them. Oh, man. This farm. This farm, baby. Yeah, today's Monday. So hopefully we can finish this run by like Wednesday. Because I want to get back into Dark Souls 3 because I just rebought Dark Souls 3 because my disc wasn't working. But I only bought the base game. I didn't buy the Fire Fades edition that I had previously. It's because we're only going to get the Platinum. You don't need to do Fire Fades to get the Platinum. You just need the basic Dark Souls 3, which isn't too terrible. We already did Dark Souls 2 though, and I'm grateful we did that one because that one was rough. That was a rough no death run. That took forever. That took 30 hours, give or take. And that one was like the Sunlight Medals were worse to farm actually than this. I don't know how bad Dark Souls 3 is. I don't know if it's easier or worse for Platinum Trophy Deathless. But we're pretty close to 500 runs, guys. I'm going to try to burn them out after the Platinum Trophies, though. I still want to run all enemies, though. All bosses, Dark Souls 2. Um, yeah, no, this part is really boring. This part is grotesquely boring. That's why we need to talk, baby. Talk about things. My voice is all jacked up still from the pneumonia, though. You know, it is what it is, though. At least I'm okay now. I gotta catch up on my homework, though. I got till October 2nd to catch up on my homework, which I'm grateful for. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Halloween's coming up, guys. You planning on doing anything crazy for Halloween? Anybody decorate their house for that? What's the lore behind Dark Souls? That's actually a really long story, man. What's up, Mustafa? Welcome. So, the thing you gotta understand is that there's some disconnect somewhat. So, I'm gonna go over a specific thing with this. So, Dark Souls 1 through 3, there are some attachments that kind of link the stories together. Dark Souls 3 is closer to Dark Souls 1, but there are some things that kind of ruin the overall experience story wise. Some retcon stuff, if that makes sense. That's what I'm going to start with. Dark Souls 2 isn't directly connected story wise to Dark Souls 1 or 3. But the reason why that is because it's almost like a Final Fantasy type thing. If you've ever played Final Fantasy, you know what I'm talking about, where it's a similar story and there's certain elements from the story involved, but it's set in a different place with different characters. So that's kind of the thing. It's one of the reasons why I like Dark Souls 2 a lot, because it's like a vacation from Dark Souls. Um, but overall, the original story from the original game, there's a macro story and a micro story. What's up, Corey? Welcome, man. So overall, it's like this. And they're connected. The stories are connected. Demon Souls is connected. Bloodborne's connected. You could draw all these comparisons. There's lots of stuff to prove it. But it's like the Dark Tower series from Stephen King. If you've ever read Dark Tower, like all of the horror novels are attached to the Dark Tower series, and so on and so forth, and blah 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 blueski. You know, lots of in-depth detail, reasons why, overarching character designs. Like there's lots of stuff in there, man. You know. No, you're gonna get bored watching me play 3, Justin. I'm pretty sure. But originally, so the story goes like this. It's a philosophical concept, really, at its core. Basically, there was this war that happened a long time ago, in the time of ancients, where there was a god named Gwyn. They call him a god, but he's not really a god. Who was the god of sunlight, and he fought the dragons. Okay. So what happened was he fought the dragons and he beat them and stuff like that, and he gained this kingdom or whatever, and there was the Age of Fire. The Age of Fire took place because a spark arose from the darkness. Okay. And the first flame was basically split up into like 5 pieces or 4 pieces or some shit like that, and given to different deities that were part of the plane that we currently inhabit. The one that's forgotten is the Pygmy, which is basically like the Hobbit in a J.R.R. Tolkien novel, which is the human being. And this is the reason why we appear as like hobbits, is because we're basically the hobbits in the storyline. But he's also the one that's a purveyor of the future, the one that's foretold to come. And the reason why this is important to note is because the nature of the universe plays a big part of the storyline, whether you believe in light or darkness. So, like I said, there's an overarching philosophical perspective. Okay? So, what happens is that Gwyn exists. He has this kingdom of fire, but the flame starts to fade. And instead of allowing the flame to perish in a natural way, he decides to prolong life beyond its natural means. And in doing so, creates what's called the curse. Okay? The curse, what it does is it seeks out the humanity in a person and dissolves it into nothing, basically making them mindless and dead from the inside out, but not dead at the same time. They're undead, and that's why you have the undead in this game. That's where the curse comes from. Prolonging life to an unnatural degree, essentially, is where the undead come from. The undead curse. So it's your job as the undead, the chosen undead, the one from prophecy, to either destroy the flame or to continue the flame. But it's also up to whether or not you believe that darkness is the true way of the true nature of the universe, because all things must come to an end, or you want to prolong the age of fire, which is an unnatural way to live. And that's the macro story essentially involved. The micro story has to do with like the NPCs and like the people you meet along the way, and like Solaire and the Onion Bro, and it kind of like tells the story through them somewhat. But yeah, there's an overarching philosophical story to it, which is interesting to me. And it's basically the fact that you start off as a character that has lost all of his humanity. But the only way to regain his humanity is by conquering the gods. So you're basically this little scrub, dead person who has no power whatsoever, no means to fight the gods, and in doing so defies nature itself by conquering the gods and overcoming the impossible and regaining your humanity in the process. A lot of themes of like depression, overcoming the challenges in your own life. And that's kind of what the overarching story kind of represents, is that darkness that we all kind of go through at some point in our lives, where something seems to over encumber us emotionally, and overcoming those things and becoming stronger for the sake of facing them. And this is why Dark Souls has an extremely powerful storyline to it. It's one of the best storylines in any video game ever made. And of course, it's generalized, and there's a lot of like, hearsay and the story, the way it's told. A lot of people don't like it because it's cryptic, and I totally get it. But if you once you grasp the concept of Dark Souls, you'll understand why it's popular. It's a very powerful story. And Dark Souls 2 takes place in a different place, basically. Like I said, it's got the Final Fantasy vibe to it. It's a different kingdom, but it's all connected somehow because of the arch trees and other underlying like story presences and appearances and whatnot, and the shards and the first sin and all that, second sin and all that. And basically, it's about a guy who's obsessed with the idea of existing forever, and kind of like destroyed a whole entire existence, a whole realm of people because of his, I don't know, need to exist forever, to be beyond immortal, to exist beyond reality and death. It's a pretty intense, like Frankenstein style story where the guy's willing to reject the civility of existence for the sake of his own, hubris and ambition. It's really dark. And of course, there are other characters that are involved that kind of have the same outlook, but they don't realize that they don't hold the same power as Aldia. Aldia is an interesting character in Dark Souls 2. Probably one of the best written ones. He sucks as a boss, don't get me wrong, but he's very interesting lore wise. He's basically the one that gave existence to the Forlorn, which are those who wander without a land to live in, which are basically the equivalent of the Black Knives in Elden Ring. It's basically the concept of Elden Ring basically came from Dark Souls 2, which is interesting. And ultimately it's still the same choice. You can choose to, you know, finish the natural cycle of reality and close off the flame, or you can choose to extend and basically defy reality. It really depends on your choice. Dark Souls 3, like I said, is mostly tied to Dark Souls 1. But when you get into DLC, then you start to get the appearances of Dark Souls 2 into it. There's like Harvest Valley from Dark Souls 2. There's armor sets. There's all kinds of stuff. Dark Souls 3 from Dark Souls 2. And that's why it was always weird that people are like, Dark Souls 2 is not canon. When it is, especially when you play Dark Souls 3. But like I said, they kind of revamped the storyline, retcon some stuff, which kind of bothers me a little bit. It has specifically the stuff that has to do with Artorias bothers me because they kind of take you out of the game from the first one and the choices you made from the first game and make it so Artorias was the one that did all this stuff. Which I mean, if you played the first game, it might piss you off a little bit. It did for me the first few times I played through Dark Souls 3, but it still has the same overarching storyline. And the thing is that there's never going to be a Dark Souls 4. They already told us like a while ago that basically it stops with Dark Souls 3, which is a great place to end. This game, no. Elden Ring, yes, but not all of it. It was a collaboration, Caleb. It was a collaboration between Miyazaki and George R. R. Martin. So it wasn't just George R. R. Martin that wrote it. Specifically, what is it called? What is it? The DLC that came out for Elden Ring is mostly Miyazaki. Yeah, of course, Shanti. Yeah, what I would suggest, dude, is watching some videos by Vadi. Vadi knows a lot about this stuff, dude. There's a lot of really deep stuff that happens in these games. Like you have to really pay attention, and that's why I say like it's surface wise. A lot of people that aren't really into it as much as like people like me that have been playing for so long. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I kind of am. Is a lot of it surface value. You know, a lot of people be like, "Oh, these games are really difficult," and that's why I play them because they're hard. But the difficulty is only like a superficial reason to play the game. Like the overarching storyline, the character development, the music, the atmosphere. There's a lot of reasons to play this game beyond just the difficulty level specifically. So they're masterpieces for sure. Which is why we'll never get Winds of Winter. Here, dude, I saw this meme about that actually. I think this morning, where he was talking about. I guess he goes, I'm done. I'm not gonna work on it." He said, "I guess the winds of winter were the friends we made along the way," and I just started cracking up, dude. I just started cracking up. I was like, "Damn, bro, that's messed up." George R. R. Martin makes more from shows and TVs than his novels. I believe it. But I also there's authors out there that just don't like to write sometimes, dude. You know what I mean? You gotta think about it. The dude is written so much already. I've never read his works. I know that he has a lot of books, and they're long books. You know, and even like with King, but King. See, the thing is that King, Stephen King is my favorite author, right? And I kind of grew out of him recently. I sold all my Stephen King first presses books, right? But with like King, he'll like the Dark Tower series. He'll vent off of it for a while because he kind of either gets disheartened or loses some kind of drive, right? But imagine writing so much, then having to come back and write another one, dude. It's rough as hell. It's got to be rough as hell. Like it can't be easy. Not everybody has the same resolve when it comes to writing, which is fine, you know. But I at least wish that he would add something to end it for the fans. You know what I mean? Two more novels, yeah, it sounds rough, dude. Yeah, you know the thing about that, John T, is that you have to play through a lot to understand it. It's like the difference between being a dude that visits Vegas and a dude that lives there. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can tell you. Like I've played these games so much that basically I have residency in the Dark Souls series. You know, I'm not visiting. I this is like my alley. I'm down here down the street. You know what I mean? But that's the whole thing is that you have to play a lot, dude. Like to grasp a lot of the stuff that happens, or you have to look it up. Those are the two options. Like there's nothing wrong with looking it up either. I think that's perfectly acceptable if you don't understand what's happening. But like with people like me, man, we've absorbed so many hours of it that it's like there, and there's still stuff I don't even know. You know what I mean? I think the show probably threw him out of it, and he said, "Screw it." I mean, maybe he'll come back. You never know, dude. He might just get a wild hair up his butt and just decide to finish a book. You never know. I don't know how the guy works. I've never read any of his novels, so. But it's like then you got like King, like I said, who's prolific beyond all belief, pumping out novel after novel after novel. He's almost in his 90s. You know what I mean? Just constantly writing like a madman, and I'm just like, damn, bro, how do you still do this? How? You know? Like even Miyazaki's tired, and I understand Miyazaki's tired because he's got what 9 masterpieces under his belt. I mean, I'd get tired if I were him too, man. But like I said, then you get people like King where it's like it's never enough. Psychopath, basically. He's doing what makes him. That wouldn't surprise me, man. Everybody's different. They're hard to read, really good once you get immersed in them. You love King books? Yeah. I love King books too. My favorite Stephen King book is The Stand, though. That's the only one I kept. I kept The Stand. I've read all of them except for the modern ones, like maybe the last 8 I haven't read. I've probably read almost 100 plus Stephen King stories. But like I said, I could read the Stand over and over again, and I'm probably gonna read it again for Halloween because it's one of my favorites. It's just something about Randall Flagg, man. He's probably one of my favorite characters in literature altogether. The way he's introduced, the way they explain him, the way he talks, his presence overall in the book. Like Randall Flagg is a very interesting character to me. I also like the way that he kind of interjected a lot of music into the concept of the book. He does that from time to time, like in Pet Cemetery. But yeah, I don't know. I really like The Stand. It's one of my favorite books. It's also like 1,000 pages long though. Cause I read the unabridged version of it every time. Depends on the adaptations. Like some of them are really good, man. Some of them are really bad. Like Carrie is okay because Carrie was one of his first novels. So it's perfect, basically. The Shining, though, I can say I like The Shining, but I also don't like The Shining. I love Kubrick, but he really doesn't understand the book, The Shining. I love the movie, though. I really do like the movie. It does add something to it that doesn't exist in the book, but it's definitely not a great adaptation of the book itself. It is. It's like meh, meh. Um, the best Stephen King adaptation I think there's ever been is Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption. I think that's my favorite adaptation. That one in The Body, which is Stand by Me with River Phoenix. I think those are my two favorite adaptations. But my favorite of all time is Shawshank. Shawshank's my favorite. It's got a great story, great characters. Exactly how it's written is exactly how it's projected on the screen. The characters are definitely exactly the same. The story is exactly the same. It's well done. One of my favorites. Pet Cemetery is great, man. I like Pet Cemetery. It's dark as hell, though. It's definitely one of the darker novels. He was super depressed when he wrote it, and super addicted to cocaine when he wrote it as well. 3 more. Oh yeah, it's Bachman. He writes under Bachman. He doesn't do it anymore, Justin. Yeah, it was called The Body. There's a short storybook called Different Seasons, and The Body is basically Stand by Me. It's called The Body. It was the only book he wrote at the time that what wasn't a horror novel essentially, and the publisher told him, "You're not going to make any money off this because this isn't horror." So he wrote a series of short stories because he was tired of writing horror, and he wrote Vito Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, The Body, and a couple other ones, and he put them in a book called Different Seasons, and that book turned into like 4 or 5 different movies. So yeah, Stand by Me is one of the stories in that book. It's actually one of my favorite books too, because there's so many different stories in it, and they're not horror based either. One more. Yeah, Stephen King's he's versatile, man. That's the thing about King is he's versatile. You can't tell. But the one thing I will say is that the intensity carries over. I would like to write a novel too, man. I have novel ideas. I just don't want to use what is it, Chat GPT to write a novel. There's a lot of those ads around, you know. When I have time, I'll write a book, but it's gonna be a while because I gotta finish school first, and then I have to retire from streaming because I only got 2 more years streaming. Type of book. I mean, I like writing horror, but my mind has changed a lot recently, so I'm not sure. I could give you the overall premise of what book I was gonna write. I've been thinking about it for a while. I was actually writing a novel about 8 years ago, and then my computer took a shit and the hard drive washed. No, I think I was like it was over encumbered though. It was like 800 pages long or some shit like that. It was too long, but it was like a fantasy, dark fantasy novel or something. There we go. That's all I needed. Alright, sorry. Da, da, da. Been crazy. Only 2 of his horror stories really took off on the screen. Yeah. I mean, Bachman, like I said, Bachman had the long walk. That's what was just released and it bombed miserably. Like nobody read it. I mean, no one watched it. The Long Walk is what he wrote when he was writing his Bachman. He has another one called Fury. There was The Running Man. He wrote that as well. Um, under the Bachman pseudonym. And the reason why he wrote it in the pseudonym is because he was writing some deeply disturbing shit back in the 1970s because he was so angry. And he didn't want it to go along with the King moniker, which makes sense to me. But overall, like I said, I know a lot about Stephen King. I've read a lot of his stuff. I know a lot about his wife Tabitha. I know all this stuff. Pearl, reoccurring characters between his novels and her novels, and the way that Dark Tower is formulated to connect to all the novels he's written. Like it's all coinciding and stuff. And I loved his work. But like I said, recently it kind of grew out of him. I'm not as into him as I used to be, for a lot of reasons. But yeah, so yeah, but my novel idea is pretty simple. It's a simplistic one, and I'll give it. No one's gonna write it, I'm pretty sure. And if they do, I might just move on anyways. So yeah, it's because he likes to write with intensity. Like his character development is bar none like probably the greatest modern literary character development I've ever read in my life. You know what I mean? Like I can't even like compare. his works to anyone else's. And that's like even Jane says the same thing when she talks about Stephen King, is that when you start reading Stephen King and you get into King, you're basically stuck with him for the rest of your life, because it's true. And even King says it himself. He's all, give them to me young and they'll never leave. He says that in his books. It's true. The dude's brilliant as shit. Prolific, great writer, great at character development, great at storylines. Just overall brilliant writer. You know?
Don't get yourself killed.
10 intelligence is all I need. Yeah, but my original idea for a novel wasn't a long one. Because, you know, at first I was writing this fantasy novel that was like part of a series that I was going to do. And then I kind of just gave up on that because it's a bit long to start with like a series of novels. So I just decided on working on a single novel. Like nothing longer than maybe 600 pages at the most. Because I could probably write upward of like 1,000 if I really went to town on it. You know, I don't want to do all that. So, and so like the concept's pretty simple. It's about a guy who's basically an evangelist, Christian, who is a con man. Basically goes town to town. I've told this story on stream before. I don't know if anybody has heard this before. You know what I mean? But he's an evangelist. He's also a con man. His father was supposedly a real healer or whatever. And inadvertently, he ends up at this position where he owes a lot of money to people. And he's going to basically, I don't know, escape from the limelight. This is a very generalized explanation, okay? So, on his way through, you know, conning people out and stuff, what happens is that he inadvertently actually heals a person through faith healing. And he thinks that he has a gift from God. And he goes town to town healing these people. And the whole time that he's doing this, he has a feeling that there's something off about it. He starts to believe in himself. What's up, Cheryl? Welcome. Okay, junk people took a bunch of big, heavy stuff. $454. Oof. What's up, Willis? Welcome. So he ends up healing all these people, and like I said, he said something feels off. And then when he comes back, he starts to realize that he wasn't actually healing people. He was temporarily healing them. And he was actually cursing them and making them worse. This is the turn. Okay? And I'm just going to cut it through. I'm not going to give this giant explanation. I've got a lot written out for the outline and stuff. But basically what happens is that it's not actually a gift from God, it's a curse. And he actually makes people worse than they were before. But he can temporarily heal them or whatever. So in doing so, his best friend ends up dying. So on a very dark path in his life, he decides he's going to bring his friend back to life. And in doing so, awakens something deep and dark that should have never been awakened. And that's just the premise. And that's all I'm going to give you. There you go. It's pretty intense, pretty dark. It's called Revival. At least that's the working title I gave it. But it is what it is. All right. So what were we doing? We got all the crapola we need for that. We need some faith, which we can't have yet. We got to upgrade the glove too. We haven't upgraded to plus 10. We might have to go farming, dude. Honestly. I don't know how much I need to get it to plus 10.
Yeah, wonderful. Right, let's get started. Goodbye then.
And we can't use any of these souls because, you know, reasons. Reasons why we're here. Thanks, man. One more plus 10? Ooh, yeah. There we go. Now we just need enough to buy the spells. Which means we probably should go farm. Which I don't want to do. I don't want to go farm. What we could do is I guess we could go kill Nito. Because we have the eyes for Nito. Let's go do that. Sorry, fool, you cannot be the chosen one. I shall slumber. Slumber, slumber, slumber. What'd you have back there? Like 50 cars or what? Damn, dude. That sounds intense. Sounds like a lot of stuff they got rid of. Reasons why we're here. And after the love games have been played, and all of illusions were just... And all of our reasons start to fade. Oh, come on, bro. Out my way, bro. Come on, brat. La 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 la. Yeah, man, that's kind of the thing. Like it's there's a book by Stephen King called On Writing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I read that book too. It's basically about writing itself. And like I have a writing class on the 20th of October because I'm going to do writing and then I have like critical thinking and like public speaking and stuff like that going on the side, you know? But he talks about it a lot, you know? Thanks for all the likes, man. That's a lot of likes. I appreciate it. But he says it's rough. Like Stephen King will say the same thing. Like he says that in the book On Writing, and he's talking about bricks. You know, like it's what he says. That's how he describes it basically. That there's no way to write a book aside from writing a book. Right? So it sounds like a stupid way to explain it, but it's true. You have to sit there and write it word by word by word by word. And he talks about bricks, like I said. It's like laying bricks. He goes, it's like one brick after the other, eventually it forms a wall, right? And he said, yeah, they appear small at first. He's all, but I heard that you could see the Great Wall of China from space. And that's the whole thing, man, is building a giant wall of words nonstop for a period of time and not get too, pissed off about doing it. Because think about how much dedication and patience and you see what I'm saying here to write a novel. And we're talking about this dude's been writing for, I don't know, 60 years. You know, like, fuck, bro. It's a lot of dedication. A lot of dedication. Yeah, writer's block. The fridge is totally junk, not salvageable. They claim to donate. Desk or something, bed completely destroyed too. I mean, at least they got rid of it, right? That's all that really matters. It's understandable to get writer's block. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. We were talking about George R. Martin, right? A lot of people are like, "When's he gonna finish his books? When's he gonna finish his books?" And it's like, bro, you ain't gotta write them giant walls, homie. You ain't gotta write them giant, walls, Great Walls of China. It's like I know that you want him to put out the book. I get it, but it ain't easy writing a book, especially in this day and age with all that Chat GPT crap going on. You know what I mean? Like anybody could write a book, but nobody can write a book. Like, have Chat GPT write the book for you. You know? Funny Farm sounds familiar. Have you seen Have you seen Harry Crumb? Have you ever seen the film Harry Crumb, man? It's such a stupid movie. It's a slow go through Wizard of Glass. What the fuck? It seems like King's attempts to romance. Yeah, that's kind of yeah. Have you read Wolves? Is that before or after Wolves of Kala? I can't remember. You haven't read Wolves yet? Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there too, somewhat. I don't know. He gets weird like that sometimes. There's a book called Pearl by Tabitha King. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but Tabitha wrote a book called Pearl, and it has Halloran from The Shining in it. It's pretty weird because Halloran's like the main love interest, and it's when he was young, so it's pretty interesting. There's some of that stuff kind of like coincides with Tabitha. I don't know if they like co-write stuff or come up with ideas. Sometimes that's what it feels like. Whenever I read some stuff like that, I was like, that's got to be some Tabitha in there. You know what I mean? Yeah, dude, Anne Rice is great. I like Anne Rice too. The thing I find interesting about Anne Rice is how mild mannered she was before she was a writer. It's just crazy that all that came out of her the way it did. Like I don't know if she just didn't have, I don't know her story per se, but she was just this quiet lady, living on a farm, and then she starts writing vampire novels. But there's a book I really like by Anne Rice called "The Call to Heaven" or "Cry to Heaven," excuse me, which is about castratis. I know it's weird sounding, but it's really good. It's well done. It's one of those they're never gonna make into a movie though. But a Cry to Heaven's really well done. Really well done. She went through some horrible stuff. I would imagine so, man. That's how she writes. I think the first book I read was Interview. First of her books I read. And I liked Interview. I thought it was fun. I liked Interview a lot, actually. Yeah, yeah, you're right, Caleb. It's true, man. Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying because, like I said, I said before that when Stephen King dies, it's gonna be a big thing when he passes. Honestly, because he's at that point where he's pretty. I don't want to be mean or anything, and just foreboding or whatever, but he's getting old. You know what I mean? He's not old enough to be old yet, but he's still getting older. You know what I mean? And it's like once that's gone, bro. Like there's no one is ever gonna write like Steven ever again. No one. His sons are good. His sons are really good. Owen's great. You know, Nosferatu is a great novel, but it's just never gonna be the same without him, basically. Listen to all Stevie Nicks discography. She's 77. Wow, dude, that's crazy. It's crazy because I tried to draw these parables when I was younger to Stevie Nicks' music. It's like she's got to be into Wicca or she's got to be into witchcraft or nope, she's not into any of that. Just just uses a lot of symbolism in her music sometimes, and it's crazy to think about. Fleetwood Mac was a pretty good band though, for sure. Uh, one of the shrinks. But I was trying. I was thinking he was trying to give up some backstory on why Roland cares about this group so much. The Ka. Is that what you're talking about? The Ka? The Ka has to do with a deep seated Stephen King element, actually. The Ka is a big deal. Like, you gotta understand, it extends to the stand, bro. It extends to the stand, it extends to it extends to the Losers Club. The Ka is a big deal in the elements of a Stephen King novel. Yeah, I can see that, man. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like that about Stevie. Her voice is crazy. I make fun of her sometimes, though. It's not her fault. I know. Koba was mad for the longest time because I was like, she sounds like a sheep. She's like, shut up. I love Stevie's voice though. I'm just giving her a hard time when I say shit like that. I'm not being serious. Daughter of Chaos. Let's go in here. I'm gonna go pee real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Yeah, no, I was messing around. I would say that, and then Koba get all mad at me. I'm like, I'm just kidding. So I'm not being serious. Not being serious. Yeah, I love Stevie Nicks. I'm just messing around when I say that. Shattered by midlife. That's crazy. You know what were we talking about before? We were talking about Axl Rose. I didn't know this about Axl Rose until recently. I don't even know if this is true, but from what I understand, that Axl Rose didn't really hit those notes like he wasn't meant to, performance wise, meant to hit the notes that he was hitting, and it just freaking messed up his throat. You know what I mean? Is that true? Is that a true story right there? It's kind of messed up, man, to think about. You know what I mean? It's kind of messed up. Do I cheese or not cheese? I'm gonna go no cheese. Yeah, because if you've seen him perform live recently, man, oh boy, that's all I gotta say. Like you could tell he is jacked the f up, man. You know. I don't know what you're doing. Okay, I wasn't going for this, but okay. My hands are tied, I guess. What a happy accident. All right, whatever. Sure. I don't know what you're doing, man. That's fucked up. You shouldn't have done that. Oh my god, bro. He's just spamming it now. I'm gonna die here, homie. No fucking way. Oh, dude, he killed me. He killed me. How? How did he kill? That's the end of the run, dude. It's over. How did he kill me? I've never seen that before. Well, it was a good run, I guess. That was bullshit. Well, it was a good run, I guess. That didn't make any sense. No, it was pretty weird. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It happens. We're gonna play Dark Souls 3 next because I got it finally. So when we come back, we'll play Dark Souls 3. It's been a minute, but look what I got: Dark Souls 3. Because he wanted revenge, probably. More than likely. But we got Dark Souls 3 we'll be running next. So if you guys missed Dark Souls 3, welcome back Dark Souls 3. So I'm going to get off, guys. I'm going to try to get some rest, I guess. Kind of a pointless stream today because we didn't get anything done. I usually hate stuff like that, but sometimes that's the way the Lord works, man, you know? But you guys have a blessed afternoon. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, my friends.